Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Planning Committee. First of all, minutes. These are your wish members. We sign those track records. Councillor Swift.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Page 8, I have spoken with the office. At the paragraph 1 but last, something is not right, and we should delete the paragraph when we say consider if we've made a comment or asked a question about the food business, which is why I commented about food safety. A comment needed added or my comment below needs deleted, and that was treated. That question was answered just before, so that needs to be deleted from the minutes.
It is, I'm informed that it has been done.
Thank you
by
so
our
much.
Assistant Secretary.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so you're all agreed with signing.
Thank you.
Okay. Apologies for absence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We're full house. Yes. Right, the members in interest. First of all, disposable interest or no interest at all. Okay, if you find your house, just say so. Oh yes. Oh yes, I do have one myself. Just to do. Only to remind people that my county council role covers floor, which is part of the last report on the agenda. Okay. I wouldn't want people to think that I'll be talking on it and haven't declared an interest, but it is recorded. So. Right. So no disclosed party grouping arrangements. No. Members of the public. People don't get together beforehand and decide which way they're going to vote, alright? Certainly not parties either. Right, there's a few more things to tell you before we get to which applications have been delegated. If the fire alarm bell rings, do go out of the room, either the way you came in or through the doors there. There's an outside stairs for you. Please switch your mobile devices to silent. If they do ring, it's £5 to £10 to the chairman's charity. The noise of the ringtone, okay? So switch your phones on. The proceedings are being recorded. Speakers will have 3 minutes. After that, you'll hear a tone and be asked to wind up. If you don't, you'll be politely told to. This is the only opportunity for the public to speak, so please don't interrupt in the rest of the debate. I'm sure you won't. And I'm sure the next thing won't apply to you. Clapping, cheering, booing, hissing, and generally having a go or supporting. You don't do that sort of thing. You'll see officers talking and members along here talking while you're talking, while you're presenting. It looks terrific bad manners. It isn't. We're trying to get the answers from the points you're raising so that we can give you the answers straight away. So you will see that. Update on performance for members. 84% we're still doing on time of all planning applications. 3% of major appeals, and there's 8 outstanding at this moment. Okay, so our figures are still okay at this moment. Right, applications withdrawn, which I better get them. First of all, the application 0034 in Crick has been withdrawn, and 0117 in Ravensthorpe have been withdrawn. 0234 in Welford is a delegated approval, and 0275, I believe, I've written across it somewhere, in Ardingworth is a delegated refusal. So we have what you call on the agenda an on-off night. The first one we're talking about, the second one we're not, and the third one and the fourth one we're not. So it should make for a far quicker meeting anyway. Right, next we come to the First application on, which is Churchwood Chapel Brampton, 0795. John.
Thank you, Chairman. This is from the site location plan, the application site from an agricultural field immediately south of Chapel Brampton. The main highway of Brampton Road joins the east side of the application site, and playing fields which join the western boundary. To the south, the application site joins existing agricultural fields, and immediately to the north, the site joins existing dwellings. These existing dwellings comprise of a mix of affordable homes and also some large detached properties as well. On the east side of Brampton Road, you'll see that the existing properties also extend south, and the application site would extend south to this sort of extent as with existing dwellings themselves. The application before you tonight, members, seeks outline planning consent to construct 25 dwellings, a community shop and a community room, with all matters reserved with the exception of proposed access. You'll see from the plan that there's a proposed vehicle access is to be from Brampton Road, an extension of existing footpath to the west side of Brampton Road to meet the proposed access. The issue of consideration tonight is whether the principal development as set out above is considered to be acceptable and regard to the development plan and other material considerations, as well as the site-specific considerations as well. In regards to the development plan, the site is clearly outside the confines of the village, and as such it would conflict with some elements of the development plan. However, policy R1 of the Western Lands Joint Core Strategy also advises where residential development would be permitted outside the confines of the village, and it requires that, in allowing so, it refers to exceptional circumstances where the proposal will enhance and maintain the vitality of rural communities or contribute towards and improve the local economy. In officers' view, the policy explicitly sets out exceptional circumstances and requires these circumstances themselves to be exceptional. Officers consider the provision of the retail facility and community room as part of the proposal, being located close to existing facilities, would meet these exceptional circumstances by enhancing and maintaining the vitality of rural communities and contributing towards and improving the local economy. We consider these circumstances to be exceptional, as currently there is a lack of retail facilities and community rooms. And with regard to very contained site circumstances, we feel that the impacts on the environment would be acceptable. We have noted that there are concerns being raised by neighbour representations regarding the sustainability of the retail facility. However, in support of the application, a viability assessment has been submitted, which sets out details regarding strategic plans, trading area profiles, competition analysis, price comparisons, demography, market, sales forecasts, and sales and gross profit forecasts, as well as net profit forecasts, together with providing an overall viability assessment. I'd like to let members know that this document has been subject to consideration by the UTC Local Strategy Service, and whilst I do not agree with our interpretation of policy R1, it is agreed that the comments do acknowledge that the proposal will enhance and maintain the vitality of the village and support the retention and development of local services and facilities with economic benefits. So you can see from the report that there is some conflict with the development plan, but equally there are many elements that the proposal will record with the development plan as well. And with regard to this, officers feel that we should look at the three elements of sustainability. That's having consideration to the economic, social and environmental impacts of the proposal. It's been acknowledged that the proposal will result in economic benefits by supporting existing facilities and also contributing towards the economic community as well. In terms of environmental impacts, the proposal will inevitably result in some loss of the open countryside. However, having considered the comments received by the local landscape officer, officers consider that those impacts will be limited. In terms of social gains, the proposal will clearly contribute to social gains by providing an additional community room and allowing further integration by provision of local services. So, whilst there are some elements which cannot be achieved in terms of environmental gains. Officers feel that these environmental impacts will be limited. Socially and economically, the proposal clearly contributes to sustaining and contributing to community retention of services. So overall, having regard to the development plan as a whole, officers consider the proposal will result in sustainable development, and are therefore advise that the application be approved. Thank you, Chairman. Before we finish, I just want to draw attention to members, the late representations which we received. There was some concerns raised by the Parish Council, which were not noted in the report, in regards to impacts on traffic movements and lack of highway infrastructure as well. Actually, also in particular report, there are no technical impediments to the application at all. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. We have 3 speakers. Mrs. Collins, who's against the application?
Yeah. Thank you. I've lived in the village for over 45 years, and I've watched the village capacity increase along with the traffic. I and the many other villages whom I represent object to the proposed development for the following reasons. Firstly, the proposed housing is a purely speculative move on behalf of the developers and is not in response to any specific request or expression of need for housing from within the village community itself. Secondly, the land is beyond the village boundary, and as a result of this is beyond the confines of the village and therefore within open countryside. The proposal would therefore conflict with policy HS24 in addition to HS22 of the local plan and the criterion of R1G WN JCS. In regard to this, I would also like to mention that the proposed development of Malton was stopped by Daventry District Council as it contravened your own guidelines. Similar situation. Thirdly, the land is a greenfield site and part of a farming landscape. According to policy S1, the proposed development fails to meet the 4th criterion due to its intrusion into open countryside, which would affect the tranquillity of the village in that location. I would also stress that the villages of Church Brampton and Chapel Brampton are 2 separate villages, and the impact of any development in either village should be assessed according to the development's impact on the individual villages as opposed to the 2 villages combined, which is what's happened here, as the impact of 25 dwellings on Chapel Brampton alone is quite significant. Fourthly, the amount of traffic currently passing through the village is already intolerable and dangerous. A small child was knocked down outside the school last year. Another entrance onto the main road so close to the crossroads and the pub must only increase the risk of more accidents on what is already a dangerous stretch of road. Fifthly, the need for a village hall seems somewhat redundant, as in the last few years virtually all of the local organisations, including the Spencer Club, the Youth Club, the WI and the NSPCC, have all now either closed or moved to other villages. A village vote undertaken a couple of years ago reinforced this lack of enthusiasm for a community centre when the villages voted against the idea. Similarly, regarding the shop, the chances of passing trade using the shop are virtually nil, as there are far better amenities at Spratton, Brixworth, Whitehills and Kingsthorpe, and the previous shop failed to succeed when at the time there was no Tesco Express or home delivery to compete. Sixth, with the massive developments that are commencing in Brixworth and Malton and the proposed development by the land officer's farm, it seems inconceivable that there is a pressing need for yet more development. Any development proposal has to be sustainable, and I believe that this therefore does not meet the criteria, especially sections 4 and 7 of the NPPF. I would also like to make the following observations. The drainage system on Northampton Road is already unable to cope with effluents going up into people's houses. Runoff water from the field has already flooded houses opposite. Furthermore, when we look at affordable housing, the houses are beyond the price of local children, meaning that once again the community is being eroded. The so-called affordable housing is 2/3 rent, 1/3 ownership, which usually costs more than mortgage or rent. It does little to provide housing that can be bought for under £250,000. How can we maintain our community? I hope you will consider my comments, our comments, and also note that the village meetings that have been held have come out unanimously against the development, and the revised plans do nothing to address the issues raised. Once again, it is a case of speculative profit being made by the developers at the expense of the local community.
Thank you. Mr. Bland, Parish Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Parish Council's objections, as has been explained by Mrs. Phillips, which were not fully printed in your papers, centred on the application being contrary to the DDC safe policies regarding restricted infill villages and NPPF 4 policy. Traffic volumes through the village recorded in the annual Parish Council funded week-long traffic count in April of this year saw an overall increase of 11% compared to a similar week in April of 2014. In conjunction with surrounding village communities, we believe that no more dwellings should be approved in the area until the infrastructure, including the healthcare, education, as well as the chronically overloaded highways, is improved. At the crossroads adjacent to the proposed site, there have been many road traffic accidents, with 3 in the last 3 weeks alone, despite the official statistics stating that there's only been 1 in the area in the last 3 years. The Parish Council is opposed to additional vehicles accessing the highway from this site and the potential for passing trade vehicles stopping on the highway to visit a shop close to the crossroads. The on-site parking spaces suggested for a shop and community room would be insufficient. Enhancing our objections, the officer's report states on page 13, focusing on the safe policies of the local plan, it is beyond the confines of the village, within the special landscape area, and will lead to the loss of open countryside, contrary to safe policies HS22, HS24 and EN10. That therefore produces an open and shut case for refusing the application. But then an attempt is made to justify exceptional circumstances in the name of sustainability, with a proposed village shop and community room. 3 proposals to obtain facilities ranging from a village hall to a meeting room in recent years, when put to the residents, were defeated by large majorities. At 2 public meetings held regarding this application, and from the 80 letters of objection to the complete development, we again see the majority of residents rejecting the provision of a community room, and as a result, the Parish Council would not wish to accept the responsibility of such a building being passed to them. A farm shop of mini supermarket proportions is half a mile away from the village, with Kingsthorpe Shopping Centre only 1.5 miles away. The proposed shop would not be viable without the custom of passing trade and extended opening hours, which would result in highway, environmental and noise problems, and the sustainability of the store at Spratton, in the next village, which currently supplies newspapers to the village, would be threatened. The Parish Council therefore urges refusal of the application for highway, parking and environmental reasons, and most importantly, without the pressure of having to consider the 5-year land supply criteria, that it is contrary to DDC safe policies which you have supported in recent months at Spratton and Malton, where intrusion into open countryside was threatened. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bland. Mr. Godwin, agent.
Thank you, Chair. The applicant supports the officer recommendation and can confirm acceptance in principle of the terms of the Section 106 agreement as set out in the report. The development accords with the development plan insofar as policy R1 of the joint core strategy sets out criteria to be met in considering residential development in rural areas. Notwithstanding the policies previously referred to, it states that development outside village boundaries will be permitted in exceptional circumstances, and these are defined explicitly as being where a new development will enhance the vitality of a rural community or improve the local economy. The officer has recommended that the provision of a shop and community room provides such exceptional circumstances where the village currently has no shop. The applicant can confirm the commitment to deliver these services and facilities. The applicant is in advanced negotiation with a retail operator who is satisfied at the viability of this location for a convenience store. In this case, the applicant is prepared to accept the Section 106 planning restriction on the number of dwellings to be occupied before a shop is provided. The applicant has also offered to gift the community room, not a building but a room, to the Parish Council, and will be prepared to provide a community sum for future maintenance. Which, if you said, the room would also provide a source of revenue to the Parish Council if hired out to other organisations or local residents in the future. The above services and facilities, together with much needed affordable homes, will be a significant benefit to the local community, as recognised by the 18 letters of support for the application. With regards to the special landscape area, policy states that development will normally be permitted provided it does not adversely affect the quality of the landscape. I would also refer to the thorough assessment by your council's landscape officer, which concludes that proposals can be satisfactorily accommodated within the landscape. With regards to the objections received, it's important to recognise that the County Highways Officer has raised no objections. The axis is considered to have adequate visibility, there will be a pedestrian link to the village, and traffic impact will be acceptable. In terms of parking for the shop, your standards are met and in fact exceeded with the illustrative layout shown. The local convenience store would reduce local trips and attract traffic already passing the site. There have been no objections from any other of the council's consultees. Chair, this is a high quality, low density development which is well related to the existing settlement framework and will significantly add to the sustainability of the village. Therefore, in view of policy R1 and the NPPF's presumption in favour of sustainable development, we ask members to follow the officer's recommendation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, sir. Local member, Councillor Franklin.
Thank you, Chair. I have a number of reservations about this. I think one of the main problems, apart from all the policy considerations that this development has shown to contravene, is the traffic issue. I myself have witnessed several accidents along there. Whether they've been reported or not, I don't know. But there seems to be a problem around that area with cars not taking enough care, and with the entrance to the proposed new development almost opposite the pub and their entrance and exit, I think that only can lead to further problems in the area. If the shop is going to be commercially viable, it's got to attract passing trade, and I think that any lorry, there is no parking space anywhere for a lorry or a van or anything bigger than a car to stop and pull in and park up. Anyone in the village would have to drive there, apart from the houses immediately around it. And it seems to me that officers have laid their own options onto the village, who seem quite vital and quite sustainable as they are, and don't need an extra shot in the arm, as this might be called, because they've quite patently said they're not interested in a community room, and the shop that used to be in the area, which also had a post office, became unviable and was closed. I also have concerns. Somebody mentioned Stratton, of course. I live in that village, and our shop does depend a little on the trade for surrounding areas and passing trade itself. So a development such as this is likely to make it less viable than it currently is, and the shop itself in Stratton has had its problems. The other benefits appear to me to be dubious, and I think that, bearing in mind how it contravenes the policies about open countryside and special landscape areas, I'm minded to propose that the application is actually refused, bearing in mind that we do have, as I'm led to believe, a comprehensive 5-year land supply, so there is no real need to disregard our existing policies. I think Mrs. Phillips has quite rightly said in the report, as Mr. Bland has already said, about the paragraph on page 13 of the original report. So I think I'd like to hear what other people have to say about it, but I will be minded to propose that it is refused if I hear that other people are supporting that opinion.
So you're not making a proposal now, you're...
I'm not allowed to make up my mind till I've heard other arguments, Mr. Chairman.
That's up to you, Councillor Franklin. Right. Comments from other members, please. Yes. No, I can't get you wrong. I've got a picture of all of you, so I can actually tell who you are. Yeah. Councillor Randall. To members of the public, why it's so funny is ever since I was a teenager, I've forgotten people's names 3 seconds afterwards. And I very often forget the names of my own councillors, so I've got pictures of them tonight. Councillor Randall.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I've got huge concerns over the traffic. I noticed that the Parish Council commissioned a week-long traffic count, and in that hour, from 8 till 9, that averages 13 cars a minute. I actually drive through that village at least once a week, and the traffic is pretty horrendous at that time in the morning. As for reporting accidents, road accidents, I don't know if the highways only actually take serious accidents into consideration, because when I phoned highways about concerns on roads where people have been actually knocked over but not needed an ambulance, highways have told me that actually they don't take those sort of bumps into consideration. It's only serious ones. So actually there could have been loads of accidents along that road, but if nobody's taken to hospital, they're not reported by highways. That's my understanding, and that's what highways have informed me. I totally agree with Councillor Patchett on the sustainability. Oh, sorry, I'm doing it right. Frenchman, sorry. Sorry. On the sustainability, I've got concerns, you know, how these villages are growing and the safer walks to schools. Does it mean everybody's got to keep going in their cars? Is there a footpath? How do they cross the road? There seems to be no crossing. And again, I don't know how closely you work with the parish councils to actually, when you're looking at developments, are you putting in place things that the villages want? You know, and if not, why aren't you talking early? You know, because what's the point of putting something in the village that actually the villagers, you know, don't require? Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Owen-Swift.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I have some reserve about this planning application. As we know, we have the West Northamptonshire Joint Core Strategy, and we have Sustainable Urban Extension. And it seems that we might have forgotten something, but for me that is a Sustainable Village Extension. The size of this development is basically another village in a village. And therefore, villages very truly absorb such a big-scale extension? It's not part of the plan. We don't have Sustainable Village Extension. And when I look at the report and the officer did a good job, nevertheless, it's about sustainability. Our village cannot suddenly, at the moment, our village are barely sustainable, and we are quite aware of that. People need their car and so on. But just that will not make the village sustainable. It's not a shop that will make a village sustainable. It's not, the village doesn't want a village hall or a room. So what makes village so delightful to live in is because it has a village community, and I don't think villages can absorb such. I mean, we are talking of 500 villagers living in Chapel Brompton. That is another 150 people living in that village. So you are talking 25 or 25% more, if my math are right, living in there. So I think for that reason, I am very, I would wait till a proposal is done, but on balance, I think it will be damaging to a village. I would have had more leniency with something smaller in that village. Thank you so much.
I'm advised by officers that 25 houses wouldn't create 150 people. I'm advised it would be nearer 90. That's what
so I
say
between 100 and 150.
Okay.
So I was very, and especially now, some people live with their elderly people. So I would say, let's cut in half, let's say 100 people living there, which is still 20% more than the actual village. Thank you.
Councillor Frenchman, you've got your hand up again. I suppose you want to make that proposition.
I do now.
Yeah, I thought you did.
I would like to propose that this application is refused. I think that we've got it succinctly put by the officer herself. That it is in the open countryside beyond the confines of the village. It is in a special landscape and would lead to loss of open countryside. It's contrary to the safe policies 22, 24 and EN 10. And also I think the exceptional circumstances that allow that development are not met in the eyes of the village itself, which is the important aspect. It doesn't matter whether you think they're met or we think they're met, the villagers themselves don't think they're met. So I would like to propose that. Thank you, sir.
You have a second then? Councillor Irving Swift, are you seconding it?
Sorry.
Right, you seconding it. Right.
So I'm advised that R1 against policy R1.
Right, other speakers, I saw some hands round here. Councillor Barron.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I thought from some of the talk we've heard this evening, it almost sounds as if Chapel Brampton's a dying village. Well, it seems quite a vibrant village. There's a school, and we're told that some of the years are even full in that school. There's an excellent pub there. Other providers are available as well. And we're told that this development will give them a shop and a room that no one really wants, and they've got evidence that no one really wants it. That's what gets me more convinced. They've actually done research and found that out. I can't see how this can possibly be exceptional circumstance. I think we should stick to normal planning guidance, Chairman. I'm very mindful at this moment to oppose this suggestion, this application.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Tarr.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I would be quite happy to have seconded this proposal for refusal on reiterating all the reasons that previous speakers, councillors have spoken on, but plain and simple. I just believe it's a step too far. It's outside the confines of the village, in open countryside. There's too many other ads, and the local plans have totally been ignored, really. And I think it's an overdevelopment, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Councillor Paul.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Just comments, really. I'm confused with regarding having a community facility within the village, purely and simply because many applications go through, and in urban conurbations, why haven't you built a community facility? But that's not for me to judge. With regard to a 5-year housing land supply, at the moment we have 5.94. However, there is a national housing shortage. So, I don't think you can hold that up. Look, we've got a housing land supply, so therefore we don't need to build more houses. Well, there is a national housing shortage. The viability of the shop, I don't think is a planning reason, and I'm pleased that Councillor Frenchman didn't use that as a planning reason. The shop will rise and fall on the market forces, as Sainsbury's actually declared today. So they were just comments, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Paul. Does anybody else indicate they want to speak? If not, we have a... Sorry, you'd like to come back as officers, yes?
I really do appreciate this is a very difficult decision for members to make, to consider. We do have a 5-year land supply, but equally our joint core strategy does quite clearly set out where development will also be permitted when it's outside the confines of the village. And it does tell you what those exceptional circumstances should be. It explicitly refers those exceptional circumstances. You have the advice of your officers, not just your management officers, but the advice of your policy officers as well, which clearly acknowledge, in their view, that the proposal will contribute and enhance vitality of the rural economy, and also contribute to improve the local economy as well, in accordance with that policy. So I do So my concern here is that, yes, he does conflict with policy HS22 and does conflict with policy HS24, but it equally accords with policy R1 of your West Midlands Joint Force Strategy. Members are entitled to an alternative view. They're entitled to reach a view that the exceptional circumstances are not met, and if not being met, it would also conflict with policy R1 as well. But I don't think you just refer to policy HS22 and HS24 alone. There's been some consideration about the impact of the special landscape area, and I do believe that consideration also has to be given to the landscape officer's comments, which state that an application proposal can be accommodated without any detriment to the special landscape area. I think those things need to be borne in mind before members reach a decision on the proposal itself.
Thank you, Cheryl. Councillor, I was going to get to the vote, but
yes,
if it's important.
Just to come back to what the officer said also, I think we should take into consideration Shapton Brompton is very close to Northampton, and as we say, Kingsthorpe is just a mile and a half. So therefore, that village, for the sustainability of the village, if we send too much at village, we will have a bit, people will commute to Northamptonshire and lose the village even more. I think it's very important that village, so close to big town, remain smaller rather than bigger. That is my view, and that might be put if you have to defend an appeal. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we have a proposal that the application be refused. It's been seconded. You've been given the reasons. Those in favour of that, please show. Those against? So the application is refused. I must say that will be an interesting, should it go to an appeal, that will be an interesting appeal result. Okay, the application is refused. Okay, we move on to the next application, Eden, at Daventry.
Thank you, Chairman. The application site lies in confines of the village and forms a large attached property along Rise Road. As you can see from the site location map, this road is characterised by large dwellings and large plots which have been substantially extended over the past. The application tonight seeks consent for extensions either side of the dwelling to create two wings to flank the original dwelling. Concerns raised by the parish council on the proposal resulting in overly development to the site, potentially to the street scene. Officers consider that the setback position of the proposed extensions will not dominate the original house, but will seek to retain the original house as a prominent aspect of the street scene. The proposal would not be detrimental to any neighbouring properties either. We'll see from late representations that actually the neighbours support the proposal, observing that the proposed extensions would be in keeping with the surrounding dwellings, not dissimilar to extensions which have been approved in the past along that particular stretch of road. Accordingly, we'll recommend this particular application be approved, Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. Local member, Councillor Fletcher.
I have spoken to the parish council about this, and they were not very happy at all, as I think the officer has alluded to, but I noticed some late representations that there are some revised drawings been submitted. Could you just explain what those changes are?
Basically made the extensions more balanced, and they reduced it from the side of the boundaries as well.
Okay, so would you suggest that is a significant
We also
change?
felt that it allows the proposal to be more symmetrical in the period from the ground at the front extensions, allow more balanced front elevation, together with reduction from the side boundary. You can see the side boundaries there.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I have no further comments on that.
Okay. Any other comments from members? Councillor Paul?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I'm looking at Councillor Frenchman has just referred to. The revised drawings incorporate a reduction in the overall width of the proposed extensions, which I welcome. Having looked at the street scene, having looked at it from Google Earth, they're all big houses. They're all big houses on big plots. This application will be nothing more or nothing less than the properties adjacent to the applicant's property. So I have no problem in recommending approval, Chairman.
Is that a proposal?
This is a proposal.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor. Any other speakers? Would you like to speak on it?
Yes, please, Chairman, just shortly. Yes, looking at the photos, most of the houses along there are quite big. It also seems to follow the pattern of some of them, so I don't think it would be out of place at all. More important, neighbours on both sides in the late representations say that they have no problems with it, they have no objections at all. And I would have thought if they'd come from anybody, objections, they would have been from the neighbours. If these people are happy with it now, others are happy with it, I think that's fine. I'll second it.
Thank you, Councillor. If no more comments, we have a proposal that officers advised be approved. Those in agreement, please show. Unanimous. Unanimous. So that's 14. Thank you. Application is approved. Our next application is 0177 in Yelverton.
Thank you, Chairman. The site is considered to be within the open countryside to the west of the village of Yelverton. An existing commercial building is located to the west. The site is also within the Grand Union conservation area. There are a number of past appeal decisions which have stated the site or the adjoining site is located outside the confines of the village and they will have a detrimental impact in the canal conservation area. The proposal before you tonight is for the construction for a 1.5-storey dwelling. The design is an off-the-peg cottage and is proposed to be rendered with an oak porch. Typically, canal-side properties are tall and are majority constructed in red brick. The proposal is considered not to be in keeping with the character and appearance of the canal conservation area. The proposal also includes the intensification of the existing access. The Highway Authority have requested speed surveys to be undertaken to establish the required visibility displays, given the relationship to the humpback bridge over the canal. The applicants have not undertaken the survey, therefore there is insufficient information to determine whether the current access is safe to use for its intensification, considering it's within the 60-mile-an-hour limit. The parish support the application, however it is likely the proposed development will result in a new dwelling in the open countryside without any special circumstances. The design is not in keeping with the canal conservation area and highway safety. The application is therefore recommended for refusal. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. We have a speaker. Mr Watson is the applicant.
Thank you, Chairman. If I could just address the three principal points as quickly as I can. A speed survey was requested, but only on the 26th of May, and it was asked to be provided over a 14-day period. That was impossible to complete for today's meeting. And in any event, in my opinion, it is unnecessary. The canal bridge in question, Bridge 19, is the third bridge in a 1-mile section between West Haddon and Yelvertoft, and people are aware of the bridge. The humpback bridge in itself acts as a natural brake to car speed. I've lived there and my wife for 25 years, and to my fairly certain knowledge there have been no road accidents on or caused by the bridge in that time, and that's at a time of increasing vehicle numbers. So far as the design is concerned, it's compact and not visually intrusive, either from the canal or from the public highway. As you will have seen in your papers, the Canal and River Trust obviously disagree with the officers, because they say the design appears to be in keeping with the traditional scale and proportions of surrounding buildings, and we consider it to be in keeping with the character of this part of the conservation area. They also state the dwelling will be set back from the canal and will not appear as a prominent feature. Personally, I don't see what better recommendation I could have. With regard to the proposed rendering of the building, Skew Cottage, which you see in the pictures, and Skew Bridge Cottage on the other side are both cement rendered, not brick. Our proposal is in fact for lime render, which is historically correct and neatly relates back to the old lime kiln, which is located less than 40 metres from the property on the other side of the canal. On the site location, as also has been stated, it does live, it's outside the village envelope, but it is part of a small cluster of residential properties. In fact, there are 4 in all there. The previous planning history of the neighbouring site was at least 15 years ago and under different planning guidelines. The NPPF now has an overarching, states that one of the overarching roles of planning system in a residential development is, and to quote, they should encourage the effective use of land by reusing that land that's not been previously developed, e.g. brownfield land, provided it's not of high environmental value. I can well see that when this site is no longer used for recycling, and it won't be wanted by someone else, it will be in as a planning application of a brownfield site, and then I will be left with an infill plot, still trying to get a house on it. In summary, I hope that you can support the proposal. My wife and I have lived there for 15 years, for over 25 years, and we're looking to retire to a smaller and more easily run house. Those are our special circumstances. Moving from Skew Cottage will allow a younger family to move in, as we were 25 years ago. This in turn sustains the local facilities such as the primary school, the shop and the pub. The application was unanimously supported by Yelvertoft Parish Council, which is why it's before you tonight. If you feel that a site visit is going to help in this application, then of course I would welcome that. Alternatively, if you feel that the design is inappropriate, then this is something that I can address through the planning officer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Local member, we can't miss who that is. And I remember your name.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you. Yes, I see what the officer's report tells us, and I can see where they're coming from there. But I do think that this is one case where we should be thinking in terms of what the locality wants, needs, and can take in the way of further development. I too would like to address the 3 points, the 3 issues raised in the report. The design, I think, is a matter of opinion. We've heard already that the Canal Rivers Trust, as we must now call them, were more than happy with the design. It's not true to say that all the canal side development buildings are brick. As we can see from the photographs, the one opposite this site and the main building on this site are both rendered buildings. So I think the design is a surmountable issue. Highway access, now that's a really interesting point, because I think there's a very simple solution to that, and I've been toying with the idea of asking for it for some time, and this is, I think, has prompted me to up the ante on that. The 30 mile an hour speed limit, which is just over the humpback bridge next to the site of the closed recycling centre, in other words, just beyond this building and the proposal site, it should be moved. It should be moved to take account of the fact that there is increased traffic along that piece of road, slow traffic, because there's the entrance to the 200 berth marina a little bit further towards West Hampton. And so I shall be contacting the highways to suggest quite strongly that they should consider extending the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit to beyond the entrance to the marina, which will then mean that by the time anyone approaches this bridge, if they're doing more than 30 miles an hour, they're breaking the law, and we can deal with that another way. So I'm fully conscious of the fact that the Highway Authority is saying that this proposal in this site under these circumstances raises questions, but I think there are simple solutions to that, and I will be helping them to realise what they are. That leaves me with the third point, which is the much more difficult one, which is, of course, that it's cited as being beyond the village confines. That's a difficult one. There is quite a cluster there. There are three largish, well, there are four dwellings actually, clustered around the canal, either side of the bridge. This would add one to that. It's not really far removed. I should tell you that using that sort of argument, you could argue that the parish church is beyond the village confines, but nobody's suggested that it should be moved. Been there 900 years, I suppose. I'm seriously suggesting that, for the reasons already stated by the applicant, that we should go against officers' advice here and support this application by granting permission for this development, Chairman, and that is a proposal.
Your reasons?
The reasons are that the location can take this extra development, although it's seen by some to be beyond the confines, that the traffic problems can be dealt with, and that the design is an irrelevant comment because it's a matter of opinion. As we've already heard, there are a number of opinions of a different sort.
First of all, do you have a second now? Councillor Patchett. Would you like to speak now, or would you like to speak in a little while?
I don't have much to say really.
Well, speak now
then. Except for the fact that I was rather amused by the highways comments on page 69. We do look to read their comments, but I think I might try and use the 60 mile an hour that bridge one day just to see if it's actually possible.
I can tell you it isn't.
I can tell you can take off on it because I've done it in my youth, and I have took off on it. John, you'd like to come back?
Yes. Thank you, Chairman. Brilliant, Chairman. I am very concerned about the aspect of it being in the open countryside. I just want members to know that the site's adjacent to the application site, that's the industrial site next door. The proposals to extend that particular site in terms of the buildings was, an application was received by the local authority, and that application was refused. That application was subsequently appealed as well, and in dismissing the appeal, the planning inspectorate quite clearly stated that the proposed site was outside the confines of the village. So the starting point for this is really that there is a clear policy presumption against development in the open countryside. And while policy R1 permits development in the open countryside, there is that strict criteria which has to be met. Now, in a previous application, that strict criteria was considered to be met by officers in that it contributed to the vitality and viability of the rural community. I think what members need to ask themselves is, in what way does this application contribute to the local economy or contribute to the vitality and viability of the village?
Thank you, John. Before we go any further, just tell me, members, I've got Councillor Irving Swift, Councillor Smith, and Councillor Frenchman. Did anybody else put their hands up? Oh, well, I've forgotten you.
Nice try, Chairman.
I'm sure we'll come back to you. So, Councillor Irving Swift, you're on.
Yes, just having listened to the debate and to what the two councillors said before, I have some sympathy for the applicant, but as the officer said, if we start to go against policy outside of confines of the village, we are going to be on a sticky wicket from now on. So I have a lot of sympathy for the applicant, but in that case, I would go with officer advice. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Smith next.
I didn't actually know the applicant. I didn't realise that you had an application in. I spotted you across there.
When you say you know the applicant, do you go out with the applicant?
Yes, I will abstain on this one.
I think you might have to disappear.
Yeah.
If you regularly go out with the applicant. Don't take the sweets with you. Right, your interest is and recorded. Councillor Frenchman.
Thank you, Chair. I was going to make a similar point to the one that the officer made, that we need to show some consistency, and the previous application, or the first application, we resisted because it was outside the confines of the village, and I feel that this is outside the confines of the village and doesn't meet the the exceptional circumstances that I think the policy suggests, and therefore I think, having listened to what other councillors say, that I'm minded to accept officers' advice on this particular issue.
Thank you, Councillor Frenchman. Councillor Chartler and Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, Chair. I can't remember the date of the appeal. Can you remind me?
Yes, the one for the Portal Frame building was back in 2002.
Thank you.
And the decision for the actual case was in June 2003, where it's in one of the paragraphs it stated that the decision was October House at the end of the village.
Thank you. That's helpful because it's no longer on the planning portal. Anything more than 2 years old, they say refer to your local authority. I suppose they've run out of web space. That was a long time ago. All I would point out is that a number of things have changed since then. Significantly, a number of planning policies have changed since then. And I'm not saying that the policy that says you shouldn't develop beyond the village confines has changed a lot, because it hasn't. However, I think that we're going to look pretty stupid in a few years' time, possibly sooner than you think, when the trading on that site ceases and houses are built there without need of permission because it's a brownfield site, and then you're going to have to face this man and say, we refuse you permission to put a house there because we thought that it wasn't a good idea at the time.
You'd like to make a point?
Yes, yes. In regards to sort of the site adjoining, obviously each case has taken on its own merits. There was an appeal decision sort of back in '93 when an application for 9 houses came in for that site, in which was dismissed. Obviously, sort of which the inspector considered at the time it would be an improvement for the area to clear the industrial part away. However, the houses would be more compact than the older part of the village, and seem, as many places, detached and isolated ribbon development quite out of character of the village. So in a sense, with that style of site, any potential development could have an impact on the character of the locality, which was the case in 1993.
Thank you, I remember it. And as you say, that was a dense development rather than a single property. I think we could argue all night that we're not going to, because we have to make a decision. And I would just simply repeat that I think that this is something where we could actually help the applicant to achieve their reasonable need by granting permission.
Thank you. I too was here in 1993 when, on the planning committee, committee that made the decision to refuse that application, and I remember the appeal. Councillor Robertson next.
Well, I too live quite close by to this, so I don't know the applicants. I don't think I need to declare an interest just by virtue of the fact that I live near it. But do I? No, I think so.
Not unless you live next door.
No. Now, what concerns me about this is that this area has seen a great deal of pressure, and the expansion of Yelvertoft has taken on a ribbon style, and basically with the recycling unit here, and then beyond it, the development of the marina is turning the whole thing into well, basically an urban area. And I don't think that we can, although I have sympathy with the owner by virtue of the fact that he's next door to an industrial plant, I sympathise with that idea, and it could in fact become a brownfield site when they stop using it, but that isn't now. That's down the line sometime, and I feel that we are ignoring the fact that it is in open countryside if we vote for it. So I don't agree that we should vote for it.
Thank you. Councillor Paul.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I have a lot of empathy with my colleague behind me, probably because he's got a knife in my back. But on the more serious side, we cannot judge an application by what may or may not happen in adjacent properties. We have to judge it by what is in front of us, and it is outside the confines of the village. I hear what my colleague has said regarding the marina. In this instance, I feel for consistency we have to go with officer advice.
Thank you. Right, if there are no more questions, we have a proposal that the application be approved for the reasons given by the councillor. It's been seconded. All those in agreement with that, please show. 3. Okay, those against? Okay. Do we need to vote the other way? You do? Right.
I'll propose it if you
We
wish.
propose that the application be refused.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Osborne. All those in favour of that proposal, please show. Have you got number 10? Those against? 4. 10-4. The application is refused.
There's 15. He wasn't counting himself.
Okay, members, the next one is Abbey South, which is 0267. Off Can you what, sorry?
Can I hear the numbers of the vote again? I thought you said 10-4.
No, it's 10-3.
10-3.
We thought it was 4, there was one doing that, but it was...
It could have been 4, there's only 13 of us in the room at the time.
It's right. What we work that out.
Quite clever.
Thank you, Chairman. This site is situated within the residential estate known as Ashby Fields. The property is a detached dwelling on the higher ground and the neighbour to the south. The property has an existing conservatory which is planned to be replaced with a garden room extension and a 2-storey rear extension away from the boundary, but near the boundary to the other adjoining neighbour, which is set further backwards, as you'll see by the layout plan. The existing garage is proposed to be converted into part of the kitchen area and study. A window is proposed on the side elevation of the study looking towards the neighbour property to the south. This window is proposed to be obscure glazing. The proposals are considered not to result in an adverse impact on the adjoining neighbours through loss of privacy or light. The application is considered to be acceptable and therefore recommended for approval. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Local member? Oh, speaker. Well, it must be one of you two anyway. Mrs. Ferguson, the applicant.
Yes. Okay, so to give some background, we're a family of 4, including 2 teenage children, and we've lived in our home for 20 years since it was first built in 1995. We love the area we live in, we have close family nearby. We can't afford to move house to gain increased space, so we need to adapt our home to work better for our evolving needs. Our son William has cerebral palsy and could be living at home with us for a good few years to come. Bedroom 3 on the plan is his room, and extending this would allow sufficient space to add an ensuite bathroom for him to use, to which we'd add enhancements such as grab rails to suit his disability. We feel that our architect has been sympathetic to the neighbouring properties in his design. And at the outset, Jeremy, my husband, engaged all immediate neighbours who may be affected by this to explain what we wanted to achieve and to show them the plans. In terms of the rear extension being 2 metres deep, this has been designed as the minimum expansion to achieve what we need to do. 2 metres is very modest and simply brings our property level with our next door neighbours at number 10. A shallower extension will not physically allow a big enough bedroom for the space needed by William, including adding an ensuite bathroom, and proportionally it would just be too costly for the subsequent space gain. Recently, when my husband illustrated to our neighbours in Poplar Close, who had originally objected to the plan, that the proposed extension was equivalent in length to between 3 and 4 of their patio slabs, they did concede that this was more modest than they'd originally interpreted from looking at the plans. Their current view of a side-on brick wall would remain unchanged, but would be brought just a few metres closer to them. And all of our first floor windows would face westwards towards the end of our garden and not overlook their property. If we need to, we're happy to change the study window to obscured glass if this counteracts any suggestion of overlooking at ground floor level. However, in doing this, we prefer to retain it as a bottom opening window on a restricted hinge. I hope this information helps with your decision making. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Berg. Now, local member. Do we have a local member? Oh, that's that one.
If you don't know by now.
And you've got a picture.
Jill, I can tell by the glare in your eye.
I wasn't going to say anything until you said the name, but I'll wait here forevermore in that case. I'm sorry, he never knows that I am Anna myself.
The sun is shining right above the top.
It's a halo. It's a halo.
Yes, I would like to say thank you.
Right, thank you.
I've been all around this house. I've looked at it from the front, I've been around and close, around the back, and I've been up Poplar Close as well and had a look. I think it'll sit in there lovely. The only people that have complained are at 3 Poplar Close. It has been proved by looking at the plans and that although they are worried with overlooking, there won't be any. They're talking about shadows. Well, the extension at the back is only 1 story high. There's a conservatory there now, so it'll only be about the same height. It just perhaps will be brick instead of glass. And the other extension is on the other side of the house away from them. And the only thing that they were complaining about with that was the window. Well, you've got you've got the garden room, which is going to take over from the conservatory, in between that window and their house. So I don't think there will be any overlooking. And I don't have a problem with this. I follow the officer's advice.
Thank you. That's a proposal, is it?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Do you have a second? Councillor Irving Swift was the first one, I think. Do you wish to say anything, Councillor Irving Swift?
No, I think
okay. Does any other member wish to say anything? Councillor Randall.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I didn't declare an interest for the Town Council because I wasn't at that planning meeting. You know, because usually I do declare an interest. And reading through the report, the only thing that was a slight concern to me was seems to be loss of parking space. It's just got as a key issue, so it just said, is that right? A reduction in the size of the existing driveway, and obviously they're extending the house, you know, because presumably, as we all know, our children stay at home a lot longer because they can't afford to move out, and often that along with that comes a car, and I just wondered what the street parking availability was like.
Catherine, would you like to comment on that?
I'm just bringing up the site location plan. If you have a look at the plan,
over there.
if you can see, sort of the garage is highlighted to the rear, and you've got ample car parking to the side of the property. You still have 2 parking spaces as a result of the development, even though sort of yes, there is a slight encroachment on that driveway, but there'd be still sufficient parking space for the property.
Thank you.
Okay. I have to say, make this comment because we're going to make it clear to all parish councils. The comments by Daventry Town Council, I don't pick them out on their own because parish councils do the same, is a bit, you know, recommend refusal but would accept DDC planning officer's decision for the following. It sounds like they don't mind which way it goes, it doesn't seem clear. But it's not just the town council, it's parish councils do a similar thing. So there will be a letter going out to parish, I'll come back and say, parishes and all the councils asking them to be a little more, you either support the application, you're against the application, so that officers know and members know whether you do support it or you don't support it. Sorry, Councillor.
Yeah, I think the only time that falls in is the fact that by the time it comes to us, obviously we've got all the reports. By the time it goes to the parish councils, obviously they haven't got reports, which often then it just means that things change. So maybe it's the fact that, you know, I wasn't at that meeting, so, you know, maybe, I don't know what the refusal, I don't know what was discussed.
Well,
so
if you look at the wording, you'll see what I mean.
But it's just the fact that, you know,
That's right.
maybe the fact that the ground levels, you know,
Yeah.
you would actually throw a bit more light onto that in your own actual report.
Yeah. Councillor, did you want to make a comment on that?
Yeah, can I just say that in the paperwork itself, just under key issues, it does say that there still be existing room for 2 vehicles to be tandem parked off street.
Right.
And with the no house down below it, because the next one is down around the next corner in the next close, there's a wall goes down there, so there's no houses there for the cars to park outside, so there's plenty of room if anybody wants to park on the road.
Okay. Thank you. If that's all, we've got a proposal that the application be approved, which has been seconded. All those in favour, please show.
For that.
Just follows, yes. Thank you. The application is approved. Right, that's the last application, but now there's a report.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it will be versatile. Right, incorporated in this by MGWSP is a bit of a video, if you like. It shows an animation of driving up the road and what it's going to be like. So, this is the first time ever that this technology has been used on this committee. So,
Be prepared.
be prepared, because you'll probably see it again. And don't say there's not a lot of traffic on this road, because there will be a lot more than this.
2 o'clock in the morning. I'll speak for you watching, but
Which way are we going?
that's from the A45. Yeah, basically it's coming from Wigan, Dodford direction from the Cadbury Fields Industrial. So we're going over at the moment the canal and railway bridge, coming up to the roundabout for the A5. Before then you go straight on towards sort of the Floor Hill, Wilton Brook Bridge, as well as going up to Brington Road.
Over the canal.
Reading to the right, back there. So basically you're going up the hill, sort of in a minute you skip to you see the M1 going around this corner.
There's not many lorries on this road, is there?
Everyone's a quick one.
But basically, this is a consultation request by NCC, so we're not actually determining the application. So we're just giving Daventry District Council's view on the link road. NCC are actually determining the application next Tuesday, the 16th. The proposal will have a significant impact, as you can see by the amount of earthworks as a result of this development, and designated heritage assets as well as the land. It is for a 5.7 single carriageway between Dodford and the junction 16 of the M1. It includes earthworks, cuttings and embankments, a total of 8 structures including culvert and farm crossing. As early as the 1990s, the link road has been considered for between these two locations. The West Northamptonshire Joint Core Planning Policy D5 supports such a provision. The proposal includes a crossing over the canal and as well as the railway between the A5 and Dodford. The proposal will have an impact on designated heritage assets. However, it will also improve the setting of some designated heritage assets such as 12 and floor. The benefits of the scheme are considered not to be outweighed by the impacts. Although generally supportive of the application, further information for consideration as set out in the report, including careful design and treatment of mitigation in order to secure screening of the short and long-term impacts of the canal conservation area, in particular noise attenuation and how the associated building, landscape and acoustic detailing will affect views off from along the canal and the visual impact of vehicles using the elevated bridge section which you saw originally at the first bit. So now we're approaching sort of the M1, sort of in the new roundabout where the old road is at the present moment before you get onto the M1.
There is another video going in the other direction if you want to see
Yeah,
that.
that would be easier to go. I don't think some car driving, so car not very good.
Joystick.
Yes, I'll sum up a bit.
Try and fast forward to see if it goes faster.
Yes.
Yeah, you break the speed limit.
It won't, it'll
Just jump, yeah.
Can I ask, did I see wrong, or was the beginning of that there was 3 lanes?
There was,
yes. Yeah, there was 3. It's because going up the hill is an overtaking, so if you've got lorries and they're going really slow, they call the lanes.
The point I was going to make is why isn't it a dual carriageway to start with? Because it's a bypass that's a major. And secondly, the bit that comes through floor up the hill.
Yeah.
That seems to be single carriageway. Surely there should be a crawler lane there as well.
I can't possibly.
No, these are comments we should be making, surely.
Well, obviously we've got an application before us, and obviously we've also got to consider the construction. And by having a wider sort of carriageway, it could have more of an impact on sort of the character and appearance of the locality. So it involves that extra earthwork by creating that additional
Yeah, but the problem with this is that if we're going to build double the size of Daventry over the next 20 years, that road will be inadequate within 5 years. If you imagine lorries, as there is one there, I just noticed, they will cause traffic jams because everyone will be trying to overtake them, and it would just be a dangerous road. I can't see that as a dedicated driver, I cannot see why any bypass of any sort is never a dual carriageway. And I think we should push very hard for it to at least be a crawler lane, if not a dual carriageway. I don't care about the money, it's about the safety and the capacity.
I care about it not coming into Daventry, but it's not doing that either.
Well, I haven't got that.
Hold on. Councillor Paul.
Again, Councillor Frenchman has a valid point of view. Having been in logistics for too many years, the classic example of not getting it right was the A1M1 link road, which is now affectionately called the A14 crawler lane from Harwich back through to Daventry. They got it completely wrong. It should have been a motorway at that time. However, at the time they also forgot to build the right end in the east, and as we can see at the moment, they forgot to build the right end at the western end, causing a great deal of problems for our villages, Welford in particular, when anything gets snarled up on the A14, and Welford and similar villages are used as rat runs. However, we are where we are. We don't have the money to build a dual carriageway, as much as I would love a dual carriageway. I feel that the road is absolutely critical to the growth of Daventry. The road will open up the Churchfields development, which is 4,000 dwellings. In doing that, it will then, hopefully, within the next 6-9 months, start kick-starting the Mulberry Place and the retail developments in Daventry. The other side of the coin is, if we can achieve the growth in Daventry that we are hoping for, which is the 4,000 houses, we will maintain the 5-year land supply. And by maintaining that 5-year land supply, we will hopefully decrease the number of speculative applications in and around our villages, which are doing us no favours whatsoever. We've already seen another one tonight. So, when I said that the road is critical, it is critical, but in more ways than the average person would realise. And I hope they don't think I'm being condescending in that way, but purely and simply, the villages will reap a great deal of benefit from this road, provided it can get built and provided the Sixfields development, the Daventry North East Sue, comes forward. The rumour has it that there is a great deal of interest now that the original developer has pulled out. So, thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor. You're both actually right, completely right. When I go there to promote Floor's case on Tuesday, I want this to go ahead, and I'm sure Daventry does. But it's true, exactly true what you said. I was chairman of the council when the A14 opened, and we didn't want the damn thing there anyway, and we opposed it for years. And we thought at the time, this ought to be a dual carriageway. Yeah. Well, okay, you can see how many years it's taken to prove, well, not a dual carriageway, you ought to have more roads. Yeah. But I would be wary to go along Tuesday to start saying, well, we need extra quarter lanes, there should be a dual carriageway, because we'll lose it, because there isn't the finance to get this. But I accept what Councillor French was saying, he's completely right.
Totally
within 15 years, that will be there after it's opened. Councillor Randall.
Yeah, just wonders, going from, say, the roundabout here, you know, just down there, what is the mileage going, you know, from here to get out that road to get to the M1 against from that roundabout going to the M1 on the old road? Do we know that?
It's not a lot different looking at that. You can see quite clearly the two different routes.
I know, well, I'm just thinking that most people that already live here will just stick to going to the same road they've always done. I mean,
the locals may well, but a lot of people driving through will use it.
Yeah, especially the lorries that take you, aren't they?
We already have 3 routes to get to Northampton from Daventry, and you can go A45.
But knowing the transport regime, as I've done over the years, the moment that bypass is built, I would suspect, with a big smile on my face, that the traffic light timings are altered considerably on the A45, A5 junction at Weedham. to benefit the inhabitants of Weedon. In other words, it would slow the traffic down and not force you, but suggest strongly that you use the bypass.
Councillor Owen-Swift.
Yes, I think it's very important for you on Tuesday to support that road. And when we speak about 2 lane, 1 lane, I live next to the A14, and strangely enough, Welford now seems happier with the development of the Catsthorpe roundabout. What I think also we should not underestimate is the change we will all have. I think 20 years ago up to now, it was the time of the car. The people now have changed. They don't want to use too many cars and so on. It's a car. So maybe we will have a change of pattern, and now a lot of people don't go to the shop comes to them. So all in all, yes, maybe it is too small, but it is better than nothing. And if we don't have that, we will have nothing.
Yes, definitely. Councillor.
Thank you, Chairman. I agree that we do have to have it, and I hope everything goes all right next week. But we went to look at this when they were having a consultation down Weedon, and I asked then if they were buying any land either side so they could make it into dual carriageway later on, and I was just told no, there wasn't the money for it, they couldn't afford it. I also asked, as soon as they're dragging it up that hill and bringing it out at the top of Weedon Hill, why didn't they do like we had done, or somebody had done out here, and use the old railway line and bring it straight into Daventry? And the man said to me, what railway line? He actually went and asked 1 or 2 other people that were there, and none of them knew that we had a railway line into Daventry. And when you see the road out there, that is where the old railway line used to be, that could have come along the side of Borough Hill.
Except in Borough Hill there's lights and bridges there now, so it will be difficult.
I don't want to be disingenuous to the consultation that Councillor Edmund is talking about, but one word comes to my mind, which I can't use in this chamber. It was abysmal, but however.
Okay. Well, we all, I think everybody in this planning committee endorses. We recognise there's some shortfalls and there will be some people on route that still need sorted out. There's a few problems. It will affect a few bits of conservation, but the principle is there, and I'm sure everybody supports the report going to County Council, don't you?
So, what heritage assets are we talking about? Dodford Hall?
Well, there's a number of heritage. There's the canal conservation area. It's where basically we see in this picture down, or picture, it's basically at the top of there.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, it's basically where it goes over. But there's another number of heritage assets along the road, such as archaeological remains.
Oh, right.
But I'm sure they can be overcome. Yeah. There's a clear desire for this to start later on this year. Anyway, you all support the report, do you? Is that unanimous? Agreed? Agreed. Is that unanimous? Nobody against it?
What, on this part?
Put your hand down, Colin.
Yeah.
I'm abstaining on that. I'm going to abstain.
One abstention.
One abstention and the rest are supported. Okay? Okay, you want your abstention recorded in your
Yeah, please.
Okay, well then, that concludes the meeting.
No, I'm only acting on